Number 1, washing the spruce before priming. Before priming everything, you need to remember to wash the spruce with some hot water and a little bit of soap in order to remove any oil residues. This will make the primer adhere better and will avoid you ripping someone's head off. Number 2, stir, don't shake. In many tutorials, Games Workshop will tell you to shake the paint well before you use it. And that's fine, but the truth of the matter is that after a paint has been open for a while, you won't be able to shake it because Citadel paints tend to become thicker and thicker the more they stay open. So it will become gradually harder and harder to actually shake the paint because it becomes thicker and thicker. Use the back of the brush to stir the paint instead and put it on the palette. Unless, of course, you're using contrast paints. Number 3, pick up paint the right way. This is one of those things that seems easy, but it's not, especially if you just started out with painting miniatures. To pick up the paint in the correct way, you'll need to avoid pushing it towards the top part of the brush. And to avoid this, you'll need to dump your brush into some water and then carefully moving it around into the paint. I'll also thin it down with the motion I am using on screen. And finally, roll the brush out to get rid of the excess paint. This is the very first motor skill you need to acquire in your miniature painting journey. But don't worry, it'll come naturally eventually. If you want to know more about how to pick up paint, I have a video just for that, so maybe watch that. Number 4, dry brushing the right way. Dry brushing is a technique where you use a very low quantity of paint and you rub it on your miniature and the paint will stay on the raised areas. Many times Games Workshop stuff will tell you to pick up the paint and rub the excess off on the paper towel, but that's wrong. This way your surface will look pretty chalky. You can instead tap the excess off on a wet sponge so you maintain that moisture. Of course, even here there are brands that produce this kind of brushes, but it's really not that hard to make your own. You just need some of this material I don't really the name of, but it comes even in packages of miniatures and busts, and I think you can find it in any like store. Number 5, use a wet palette. A wet palette is a palette that's designed to keep your paint moist by using a sponge, some water, and some parchment paper or baking paper. And since Games Workshop doesn't yet sell one, of course the big G doesn't really want you to know about that. There are plenty of different companies that produce wet palettes that you can use, but you can easily make your own without spending any money on it. You'll just need a Tupperware, a sponge, and some parchment paper or baking paper. If you found that these hacks might help you in your miniature painting journey, you should definitely subscribe to get more of the same content. And see you there, maybe. Right?